Good afternoon. Good afternoon. It is Thursday, July 10th, and that means it's time for another segment of Let's Talk Power Live. I am Dr. Tangi, and it's my pleasure to join you here each week where we talk about power in education in a real, tangible, actionable, and concrete way. So, I'm excited to join you. And like every week, today is Thursday, and it's something I'm thankful for. Every week, I ask you to stop and pause and consider what you're thankful for. And each week, I take time to share with you what I'm thankful for. So this week, what am I thankful for? A lot's been going on in the news, and a lot of it has not been helpful. It has been downright sad. We had massive flooding in Florida. I'm sorry, in Texas. And we also had some massive flooding in New Mexico, which has not gotten the same amount of press because of the scale. And while those tragedies have gone forth, I'm thankful that once again, people are marshaling the best of who we all are as people and working to support each other. So I'm thankful for that. I'm also thankful that today I get the opportunity to deliver a keynote for an organization here in Washington, D.C. called CARE Washington, D.C. Y'all already know I will be talking about power in education. I will be talking about the power of communities and of the educational system to be in partnership to deliver the kind of excellent education that our students deserve. So that's what I'm thankful for. I'm always thankful for an opportunity to share about power because power is a real thing. And so let's talk about where we're headed for today. Last week, before we get there, let's do some little housekeeping things. Number one, who are we? I'm Dr. Tangi. I say my name every week. I also tell you that I am the CEO and I am the principal consultant of Liaison Educational Partners. What do? We work with educators, let's be clear. But what do I mean by an educator? I mean a person who has a hand in the development and the delivery of curriculum, the structure and conveyance of instructional practices, and the creation and cultivation of strong cultures in a building or in a district or in a state. So if you are a person who has a hand in curriculum, in instruction, and in culture, the work we do at instructional, at educational, at liaison, my mind today, I'm so sorry. The work we do at liaison instructional powers is for you because we work at the intersection of all three of those. We want to make sure students have access to and receive a leader who is equipped with the skill set, the mindset, the tools, and resources to ensure they get the excellent education they deserve. So that's what we do. And we do all of that through the lens of power, because here's what I know. If the power dynamics in any environment, including the learning environment, are off, and a lot of times they are, if those power dynamics are off, then the culture is going to be off, which is going to impact the instruction, which will damage the ability for the instruction, for the curriculum to serve as a tool for learning. So that's why we talk about power. We talk about power too, because Beverly Tatum said, power is the smog in the air. It is the thing that we cannot see, but it is present and it impacts the quality of every relationship. And education, with its inherent differentials, is ripe for the use and, unfortunately, the misuse and often abuse of power when it reflects and relates to children. So that's why we talk about children. And I'm going to ask you, do you have your copy of Understanding Your Instructional Power. Took all this idea, all the research around my own practice as a practitioner, as an educator in a classroom, and as a leader in a district, took all of that research and put it in a book to help educators, primarily classroom educators. But if you are a leader, you need to know what's happening at that level too. So this book is going to help you open your eyes to some of those dynamics in your building and at the classroom level. Chock with tools. It has structures and strategies. There are case studies. What you need to reshape and revolutionize the quality of the relationships in your learning environment. If you are an educator who is just starting out, this is the book that's going to help you enter that space prepared to disrupt the automaticity of your decision making that's filtered by your sometimes unknown, often untapped into power filters. We all come to our lives and the adult portions of our lives with the stuff that makes us who we are. Every day we walk into spaces with our full selves, and who you are comes with you wherever you go. This book is going to help you understand the filters that shape your decision making, and it's going to help prepare you to ensure that your students and you are in the kind of relationship that builds agency as opposed to the kind that power protect both you and your system. So go ahead, get your book. There is a copy. Here is a link to Understand Your Instructional Power. When you get your book, I'm going to ask you to do a couple things. I'm going to ask you to take a picture of your book and post it to your social media. And please tag us with hashtag Instructional Power. I'm going to ask you to please go to Amazon and leave us a review, because we want people, more people, to understand that their instructional power is real. So that's what I'm going to ask you to do. And while I'm asking you to do something, let me pause right now and ask you, have you hit the like button? Have you shared? Have you subscribed to this channel? If you have not done either of those or any of those, please go ahead, hit the like button. Please go ahead and subscribe to this channel. We are in the business of making power in education a real, tangible, actionable thing. People say, wow, you're not doing a podcast. There are podcasts everywhere. We have attention deficits in our, and not in the technical sense, but people's time is really valuable. And so I thought it'd be great to come on every week, give some quick ideas, 30, 35 minutes. That's why this is a talk every week and not a full-blown podcast. We might grow up and get there one day, but right now we're going to hang for these next 30 minutes together. So get your book. Go ahead, tag us. Go ahead, take a picture. Want to know how your practice has been impacted once you know about your instructional power. So that's my housekeeping. So where are we going today? Well, another thing, I want to always anchor why or what this instructional power is. And people ask me all the time, Dr. Tangi, Dr. Marshall, when you say instructional power, what do you mean? Here's what I mean. Instructional power is and can be understood by an educator's use of their state, building, and district ascribed job-related authority to impact the quality of the student's access to education. You make decisions every day at every level, in every role that you have, whether you are a classroom educator, a building educator, a district or state. You make thousands of decisions every single day. And inside those decisions, they are imbued with power filtered, power laden decision making structures. And that's why I coined this term. That's what it is. So last week, we spent some time and we talked about patterns, we talked about possibilities, and we talked about what does this idea of adult summer slide look like. So we really wanted to give you a quick review of what we did last week. We know that summer slide is traditionally spoken of when it comes to students, but as adults who educate but have I'll say a break, a break in the technical day to day aspects of our job as an educator at the classroom level, we also experience our own summer slide. We take time off. We might tutor. We might run summer school. We might go to the beach. We might go overseas. We might do we might work a second job. We might do any number of activities, but our function as a classroom educator shifts. And that creates the same type of skill set atrophy and slide. And so we really talked about that last week and gave you some structures and some ways to really to stem that tide, right? To really sort of break that cycle of having an adult summer slide. So that's what we did last week. I wanted to just kind of catch you back up. But here's what I will say. If you missed last week, please go to the channel. They're there. You can watch the entire segment. So that's what we did last week. Where are we headed now? So this week, really want to lean into planned power moves that matter. And we're going to focus on agency building. There's a lot of talk about agency, what it is, how to enact it, whether students have it or don't have it. Here's what I want you to understand. Power isn't found in the reaction to something. Power is designed into your routines. You have to be explicit and you have to be intentional about arranging a co-constructed environment where both you and your students are in this partnership that fosters their agency development and really allows them to understand in a technical way what agency is and that they have it. And here's the thing. Kids, students exercise agency. So the question is not whether they do or whether they don't. The question is, are they going to have opportunities to really understand the concept in a real and tangible way? And are they going to have opportunities to really exercise that agency so that they can become the independent learners, empowered to make decisions that are in their best interest, not those that protect the system or protect you as an adult? One of the questions one of my colleagues I used to do a lot of work with used to ask her people, she would ask her sort of teachers, right? She was a professional developer. And so she would ask those participants in her sessions, who are you servicing through your strategies? That's a question to ask. Who are you servicing through the use of your strategies? Are you privileging you and servicing you, or are you servicing your students? Who is benefiting most from the strategic moves you make in any one of the 1,500 plus decisions you as a classroom level educator make every single day? That's the question. Who's doing that? And so power is not going to happen in the way in which you react to something. It is going to be intentional in layered forms when you plan for the enactment of it at the level of planning in the day, that you are aware of it and you are aware of yourself. When you are aware of yourself, when you understand your own power center, and I don't mean power to control. What I mean is power to be in partnership. When you understand that structure, then you can better plan for it. So that's where we're headed today. So let's talk about some power moves. I'm going to give you 3 power moves in our time together, things that you can begin to ruminate over this summer. Because here's what we want to make sure of. We want to make sure that when you get to August, you are ready. And some of you are going to start back in September. So whether it's August or whether it's September, want you ready, right? We don't want you to go to August with atrophied brain. So here's power move number 1. We want you to design for student-led meaning making. Now, I want to pause here for a moment and say, I understand how curriculum works. Part of one of our critical areas is supporting curriculum organizations. We do a lot of work here at Liaison Educational Partners supporting our curriculum providers across the nation. So we do that work, and I understand there is this need to have educators do a lot of front loading. Front loading leaves very little space for student learning. It leaves space for student doing. It leaves space for student participation, but it may not necessarily create the kind of space for actual brain engagement and student learning. So I understand you might have a curriculum that's going to ask you to front load a whole bunch of vocabulary, want you to front load a whole bunch of concepts, but you're robbing kids of learning. Particularly, I'm going to talk about science for a moment. If in your science curriculum, you are asked to front load the science vocabulary, what you are doing is lowering your students' ability to actually understand the concepts. A lot of times in science, the language, the vocabulary is the concept. For instance, photosynthesis. It is both vocabulary and it is concept. So if you front load and tell students the meaning of the word photosynthesis, they don't have to learn the concept. Just saying. So what we want you to do is we want you to move one of your power moves this summer as part of your thinking through your summer slide, right? To stem it, right? To stem the tide of your summer slide. Move number 1, move and consider ways that you can go from front loading all of the ideas and materials to deliberate planning. And when I say deliberate planning, I mean planning that leaves room for students. Because here's what I know to be true. In every state, in every district, in every building, and in every classroom, there's going to be a student who comes to whatever the topic is with knowledge about it. So you want to leave room in order for them to have space to engage, and you don't want to front load everything. So that is move number 1. Move number 2, make reflection a routine, not a rescue, right? We are used to in the moment reactions to whatever may or may not be happening. And you want to keep that up because sometimes you have to be flexible. You have to allow space for there to be, oh, wow, that teachable moment that's going on. And you want to break with whatever the routine might be at the moment according to the structures of your necessary curriculum. I get that. I was there. I was in the classroom too. So I understand the need to be flexible in the moment, but that cannot be every day. There has to be strategically planned opportunities for engagement. And what I mean by engagement, I don't mean Statue of Liberty girl opportunities for someone to just pop their hand up, pop their hand up, pop their hand up. What I mean is you have to strategically know your own curriculum, even though you may not have curricular autonomy. Your autonomy may be restricted. Your autonomy may be curtailed. It might be, but you still got to know it deeply enough to allow space for the human to be a human, you to be one, and your students to be one. So, in the moment, yes, absolutely build those times of reflection, but take time this summer, not in an intense, like you do during the school year, but every now and then, a couple of days a week. Just go back through your curriculum if it's not going to change. Go back through what you did over this past year. Look for spaces where you allowed for reflection in the moment, and let that be the impetus for planning for this year, because something happened in that moment that you might be able to predict that will happen for the coming year. And in that prediction, you'll be able to strategically plan for meaningful or routine of reflection, right? Make it a routine, not just rescuing you. Because let's be clear, sometimes we don't always plan. And reflection can be a stopgap measure when we get stuck. How do I know? Because it happened to me. So I want to make sure you are making reflection a routine and not just a rescue mission. So move number 3, shift from permission to co-planning. Invite them, I want you to move towards your students really becoming partners in the learning. And this is particularly important for my educators who are at the middle and high school level. They can handle it. They can handle this partnership. And yes, you just might have a curriculum that you can't deviate from. So again, you might have restricted curricular autonomy, or you might have constrained curricular autonomy. Either way, there are still areas, there are still ways for you to move towards a learning partnership at the planning level. You can do it very simply by previewing a topic and saying, hey, this is the topic that we're headed towards. What are some ideas that you have? What are some areas of interest you have regarding this topic? You can even give your students the questions that they might be asked to consider. You can give them that and say, hey, how might you go about answering this? Let's think this summer to avoid your slide. Take some time to go back. Make reflection part of your routine this summer. Go back and think through, where did I lean into more of me and less of them? And you want to take that and say, this can now be an impetus for me to open the door, open the window, for there to be authentic co-planning, right? Permission to engage. But that's okay. That's a start. That's a start. But we want to go deeper. We know what studies are saying about young people, that the longer they stay in school, the less connected they feel to both content, to process, and to their own educators. This is a way to disrupt that. This is a way to build in more authentic connection to the learning environment and to you, right? When you are authentically asking for them to be your partner in their learning. Remember, we keep talking about that kids are the end user, but yet we structure everything for the adult to be the end user. So let's flip that script. Let's go ahead and move from the shift from permission. Let's get out of that permission cycle and into this co-planning cycle. And that's really, really important, because I want you to understand something. Power is a practice. It's not a performance. We do a lot of performing in education. But when it comes down to the power and an enactment of your power, particularly your instructional power that can get kids into this agency building in authentic ways, you want power to be part of your practice, not just something you perform. Because here's what's going to happen when you lean into performance, then it becomes power to control as opposed to power for practice and power for partnership. We want power for partnership because we keep saying we want kids to be ready to enter a world beyond the four corners of the schoolhouse building. Well, when you use your power, your instructional power, in ways that build authentic agency and move towards empowerment in strategic, intentional, explicit ways, then power becomes practice and it moves beyond performance. And that's the goal. So let's go ahead and let's start talking about moves that protect, because a lot of times power protection happens for two things. We protect systems and we protect ourselves. And we want to move towards power that really does shift away from protection of self and system and moves towards our dimension three. No, not we want to move out of dimension three and into dimension two. And if you've been following along, you know what this means. If not, please go ahead, go into this YouTube channel, subscribe, like, and share, and you'll be able to learn about these four dimensions. But when we're power protecting, we are in dimension three. What we want to move into is dimension two, agency development, right? And then onward into empowerment. So first up, we want designing for student meaning making. You want to design for that, and it protects student voice and their cognitive ownership. That is the goal, their cognitive ownership. But if we are always at the center, even if student voice is performative, that still leaves us in the center. We want authentic student voice. That only happens when it happens at the beginning. And then we want making reflection a routine, as we said, right? Let's make a reflection a routine, because then that protects the student agency. And that's really critical. And then we want co-planning with students. Again, it's really important because that's going to protect their trust. It's going to foster it, and it's going to protect their trust. We really want to make sure as we're moving through these processes that we are protecting our students more than we are protecting ourselves and the system. So these three things: number one, designing for student meaning making; number two, make reflection a routine; and number three, co-planning with students. Those are the moves that protect and move us into dimension number two and out of dimension three. So, what's going to be your power move challenge? I want you to think about that. I want you to think critically this summer as you are contemplating last year, thinking about this year that's coming up. What is one move you can take in your reflection time that's going to shift the ground in your learning environment? What's going to be your power shift, your power move challenge? Are you going to think about how to make reflection more of a routine? Are you going to think about ways to really get into the idea of co-planning? Or are you going to think about meaning making? Or might you just go back into what you did last year and choose one thing that can shift the ground away from you and towards them? That's my question to you. What's your power move? And here's one thing I know you can do. you can stop for a moment and really get into Instructional Power 101. What is it? It is our brand new, so excited, 7-module self-guided system for learning. The great thing here is no pressure, no timetables. You move at your own pace and you walk away from this understanding your power moves. You walk away from this particular set of learning with the ability to go into the new year ready for an agency centered learning environment that centers students in authentic ways. That is what it's going to do. 7 modules, self-directed, no deadlines. You move at your own pace. Best summer learning out there. Go ahead. And it's all based upon the book. So if you've got the book, fantastic. If you don't, that's okay. This is going to get you some ideas from that book. So there's the link right here. And it's also on our website. So please go ahead and think about this idea for summer learning. And oh, yeah, at the end of it, you get a certificate of completion that can really that you can use if you need some CEUs. You can present it as a learning tool for culture and for classroom management. So it will help you manage your classrooms better. It'll give you some tools that you don't already have. So go ahead. That's one way to do that. And then it just tells you this is how it works. 7 modules, self-guided. It is your pace and your timing. You can do it with a colleague, or you can do it on your own. You can do it in conjunction with existing professional development, however you want to do that. But go ahead. That's how it works. And then let's recap. What did we talk about this week? Well, we talked about, I'll move that out of the way. We talked about how power shows up in planning, right? That agency is a design. It's a choice. You got to design for it. We talked about summer slide. It isn't just about your students. It's not just about forgetting. It's about content, right? You really got to get that together. And then we talked about one move that you can make. I gave you 3. You can pick one of those, or you can think critically on your own. That is what we did this week. Always excited about what we do. Then let's talk about where we're headed next week. Ooh, next week I'm going to be in Ghana. So I'm going to be coming to you live from Accra. So excited for the IES conference. I forgot to say I was thankful for that. I am thankful for that. So we're going to be coming to you live from Accra, Ghana next week, where we're going to be talking about planning with purpose, not just pressure. And the summertime is a great time to just ease into your planning. And then for the last week, we'll be talking about instructional power in action. So that's what's coming up. All right, get your book. Please get your book. Tag us. There's an Amazon link right there. That's on Power 101. That is the book link. That's the link right there. You are all set. Take your picture, tag us. And then I'm going to invite you again. Please go ahead, like and share and subscribe to this channel. And thank you for joining me, Dr. Tangi, for another week of Let's Talk Power Live, where we dig into power and education in a real, actionable way. Thank you, everybody.